There is a specific kind of man who gets to age 59, having spent his entire adult life single, and still finds it in himself to say yes to marriage. That kind of man is rare. Most men who are still unmarried in their late 50s are unmarried for a reason. Maybe they never wanted to settle down. Maybe they had bad experiences with relationships. Maybe they were emotionally unavailable. Maybe they were just enjoying a certain kind of freedom too much to give it up. Chris Merrick was that kind of man. And then he met Amy Roloff, and everything changed. Tonight on LPBW Update, we are walking through Chris Merrick's complete pre-Amy Roloff backstory, his Idaho family roots, his education at Portland State University and Clackamas Community College, his career as a photographer and eventually a real estate agent, the divorces he witnessed in his own family that reportedly shaped his cautious approach to marriage, and the 54 years he lived as a single man before Amy Roloff walked into a Portland area singles mixer in 2016. Because to understand what Amy means to Chris, you have to understand who Chris was before her. And who Chris was, for most of his adult life, was a man carefully guarding his independence from anything that might permanently change it. Chris Marek was born on August 10, 1962, in Idaho. That means he was born just weeks before Amy Roloff was born in Michigan on September 17, 1962. They came from the same generation. They grew up in the same American cultural moment. They experienced the same national events unfolding around them as they came of age in the 1970s and 1980s. But their childhoods were very different. Amy grew up in Michigan, in a suburb of Detroit, with 3 siblings and parents who worked at Ford Motor Company. Chris grew up in Idaho, in a family whose specific details he has kept largely private. What is known is that Chris comes from a family that, over the years, witnessed multiple divorces. That family history shaped him. He has said in interviews that he saw enough divorces to be cautious about the institution of marriage. He was not opposed to marriage philosophically. He just did not want to enter it lightly. He wanted to be sure. That certainty took him decades to feel. Chris's early adult years were spent building an education. He attended Portland State University, one of the largest universities in Oregon. He also attended Clackamas Community College, which is located in the Portland metropolitan area. His combination of these 2 institutions suggests he was pursuing a specific set of skills, possibly related to business or communications, that positioned him for a professional career. He did not follow a traditional 4-year linear path. He took the courses he needed at various institutions and built the credentials he wanted. That practical, unpretentious approach to education fits with the person Chris has always been. He is not a man who cares about labels or prestige. He is a man who cares about competence. After his education, Chris started his professional life as a photographer. He has said in various interviews and profiles that photography was one of his early passions. He appreciated composition, light, and the visual arts. Whether he tried to build a photography career or whether he did photography as a side interest is not fully clear. What is known is that Chris eventually transitioned from photography to real estate. He joined the real estate industry sometime around 2003 or 2004, based on his stated over 20 years of experience. He built his career as a real estate agent in the Portland area. He worked at various firms, eventually settling into positions at Keller Williams Real Estate and Knipe Realty. He specialized in residential real estate. He became known for personalized service and strong client relationships. His Zillow profile shows a 5-star average rating and 109 successful sales, ranging from properties in the low hundreds of thousands to luxury homes over $500,000. That is a solid, respected career built over decades. Throughout those decades of building his career, Chris did not get married. He did not have children. He had, presumably, various romantic relationships along the way, but none of them progressed to marriage. In a Season 25 conversation on LPBW with Matt Roloff, Chris admitted that at 59 years old, he had felt it was not like he had to get married. He had heard so many stories from other couples that had been together for a long time, and as soon as they got married, the relationship had changed. That fear, that formalizing a relationship might spoil it, was one of the things holding him back from marriage. He was not afraid of Amy. He was afraid of what marriage as an institution might do to their relationship. Ultimately, he decided the risk was worth it. He proposed in September of 2019, and they were married in August of 2021. Chris's approach to his single life had been one of intentional freedom. He had his own home. He had his own income. He had his own hobbies, particularly motorcycles and hiking. He had his own friends. He had his own routines. He did not need to be married to be happy. He did not need a partner to complete him. He was a fully functional single man in his 50s, enjoying his life on his own terms. That kind of independence is uncommon. Most men who reach their 50s without ever having been married tend to have either serious relational avoidance issues or serious social difficulties. Chris seemed to have neither. He had close friendships. He had community. He had a full social life. He just had not felt the need to formalize any of his romantic relationships into marriage. In December of 2017, after roughly a year of dating Amy Roloff, Chris made a public statement that revealed how his mindset had shifted. He updated his Facebook status to being in a relationship with Amy. In the update, he said he was retiring his player badge for her. That phrase, retired his player badge, became famous among LPBW fans. It was Chris's way of saying that he had been enjoying the single life, that he had been dating around, that he had been what some people call a player, but that Amy had changed all of that. For her, he was going to be exclusive. For her, he was going to be committed. That was a big statement from a man in his mid-50s who had never made that kind of statement before. The transition from single to married was not just a matter of Chris deciding to change. It was a matter of Amy being the specific person Chris felt was worth the change. Amy had qualities Chris had not encountered before in his romantic history. She was funny. She was warm. She was independent in her own right. She had built her own life. She had her own income. She had her own passions. She was not looking to Chris to complete her or provide for her. She was looking for a partner who could match her. Chris turned out to be that partner. Chris's family background, though largely private, has been present in some ways throughout his relationship with Amy. His parent status is not extensively publicized. His siblings, if he has any, have not been public figures in the LPBW universe. There have been no major family events on the show involving Chris's family of origin. That privacy suggests Chris has chosen to keep his family life separate from his public persona. He is on the show because Amy is on the show, not because he wants to promote his own family or himself. His family gets to be private. Only Chris himself has been public. Chris's role as a stepfather to Amy's 4 adult children has been another interesting aspect of his pre-Amy background. He had, before meeting Amy, no experience raising children. He had no biological children of his own. He had not spent significant time with young children as a parenting figure. Then he became involved with Amy, and by extension involved with Zach, Jeremy, Molly, and Jacob, all of whom were adults but were still emotionally present in Amy's life. Chris had to figure out how to be a stepfigure to 4 adult stepchildren without ever having been a parent himself. He has, by every visible measure, done that job with grace. He has never tried to be their father. He has never tried to compete with Matt. He has respected their space. He has been present when included, absent when appropriate. That is exactly what a stepfather to adult children should do. Chris seems to have figured it out instinctively. Beyond his stepchildren, Chris has embraced the role of Grandpa Chris to Amy's grandchildren. He has been present at family events. He has appeared in photos with the grandkids. He has been part of their extended lives. Given that Chris had no children of his own and no grandchildren, this role represented a genuinely new experience for him in his 60s. He was becoming a grandfather figure for the first time, and by all accounts, he has enjoyed it. He has spoken warmly of Amy's grandchildren. He has been present at their birthdays, sporting events, and family gatherings. That kind of embrace of a new family, at Chris's age, is another sign of who he is as a person. He is not just marrying Amy, he is joining her whole family. What can we learn from Chris Merrick's pre-Amy backstory? A few things. First, that patience about marriage can lead to good outcomes. Chris waited until he was 59 to marry. That is late by American standards. But it meant he entered marriage knowing exactly what he wanted, exactly what he was capable of, and exactly what he was choosing. He was not marrying because he was expected to, or because social pressure pushed him toward it. He was marrying because he had met Amy and knew she was worth changing his entire life for. Second, that a full life before marriage is not a red flag. Chris had a career, he had hobbies, he had friends, he had community, he had built a rich, satisfying single life. Entering marriage from that position of strength, rather than from a position of needing marriage to fix something, is a healthier way to enter a relationship. Third, that the willingness to embrace a partner's existing life is a form of love. Chris did not just marry Amy. He embraced her 4 adult children. He embraced her 8 grandchildren. He embraced her ex-husband and became friends with Matt. He embraced her cooking business. He embraced her Instagram presence. He said yes to all of it. That kind of comprehensive embrace of a partner's existing world is the mark of a mature, generous adult. Looking at Chris in 2026, at 63 years old, married to Amy for over 4 years, he is still the same private, understated, competent man he has always been. He still does real estate. He still rides motorcycles. He still hikes. He still keeps his own family life private. He has just added Amy and everything that comes with her into the center of his life. The single Chris Merrick is gone. The married Chris Merrick is a happier version of the same person. And the transformation from one to the other happened because Amy Roloff was worth it. In his own quiet way, Chris has built one of the best second acts in reality television history. And it started with a 54-year-old man walking into a singles mixer, not expecting to meet anyone special, and walking out having met the woman who would become his wife. So I want to know what you think. Do you find it romantic that Chris waited until 59 to marry? Or do you think there are red flags in never having been married before? Do you appreciate Chris's decision to embrace Amy's existing life without trying to compete with her ex-husband or her adult children? And do you think Chris and Amy will remain married for the rest of their lives, given how carefully Chris chose this specific marriage after decades of choosing not to marry at all?